Hello Internet, says Skorkowski, and welcome to part 2 of our review/campaign diary for Pulp Cthulhu's campaign, The Two-Headed Serpent. This episode will cover Chapter 3, North Borneo. Now, for those wondering whatever happened to Chapter 2, New York City, the reason is because the second chapter isn't the actual second adventure. The New York City chapter goes over all the details that happened back home, where the Caduceus office is located. It gives us maps, NPC profiles, and tons of resources, and it does have an adventure. But the New York City adventure is more of a slow burn adventure, meaning that it takes several sessions of setup before you can execute the adventure, because all that setup takes place between all of the other adventures. I will get to it eventually, I promise, but not until my own campaign has completed it, or until the information there is no longer relevant to our campaign. However, I will incorporate part of it into the other episodes as we go through it to show where I placed all the foreshadowing for what's important in New York City. Now, obviously, this video is going to be full of spoilers, so any players in the audience should stop now if you haven't played this adventure. But please send your game masters this way to find out if the Two-Headed Serpent might be right for your group. Okay, keepers, let's get this started. The chapter begins once the PCs arrive back from the Bolivia adventure. The adventure timeline shows that only 6 days have occurred since the actual start of the campaign. Now, if your group took longer than 6 days to complete the Bolivia chapter, traveling all the way back up to New York and all that, don't worry, mine didn't either. And if the timeline doesn't work out, just move the dates back appropriately. In fact, the first 2 adventures, Chapters 1 and Chapters 3, are the only ones that have specified start dates, so it's not going to cause any sort of cascading problem where you have to keep moving dates back and back as the campaign continues. Now, for my game, I had Quentin Shapiro meet the PCs once they exited the airplane. A team of Caduceus people loaded the mummy into the trucks, and then Shapiro took the PCs back to HQ personally.
Back in civilization. And you're damn right we are going back to HQ right now. I got a bone to pick about you guys sending us down to Bolivia with no idea what it was we were about to face. And believe me, bub, I got questions.
One player ended up missing this session, so the group consisted of Jane, Patch, and JJ.
Buck? Buck? Hey guys, where did Buck go? He was on the plane with us back from Bolivia, right? Nah, he'll show up.
The New York chapter gives us a map of the Meetum building. The PCs are taken to a meeting room up on the 7th or 8th floor, and that's when they're given the briefing as to what Caduceus's real objectives are. Keepers don't get much in the way of handouts for this, but the Pulp Cthulhu guidebook has Caduceus described in it in their organization section, so I would start with that and then describe the rest of the orientation package that the PCs get. I also use this time to introduce a few of the repeat and key NPCs for the New York chapter. Dolores Parville, Meetum's personal secretary, she was the one that came down and delivered all the binders with the orientation packages personally, and Shapiro then had to sign for them and he made the introduction. Once the PCs are then inducted into the second tier of Caduceus, have Frank DeLuca, the chief of security, come in, and he's going to give each character a key with a serial number written on it, and this will give them access to the 7th and 8th floors and serve as a good introduction to DeLuca's character. Now, during the debriefing, Jane did have some questions.
Look, letting us into your secret clubhouse, that is cool and all, but what do you plan on doing about this? Why am I growing scales?
Jane was taken to the lab where she met with Dr. Goncalves. The lab is in the lower basement and also served as a good way to show the PCs that there are sub-basements below the building. Goncalves took a very personal interest in Jane and the trap that gave her the scales on her chest. He took a biopsy and told her not to mess with it because possibly removing all the scales might make it worse, and he didn't want to cause it to get any worse, but he also wanted to see if there's any way that maybe we could just get some regular skin there like she had before. Needless to say, Jane wasn't happy that these scales might not be curable, but Goncalves promised to have an answer for her once they arrived back from their next mission. While Jane was occupied down in the basement, the rest of the player characters met Philip Connors, the pharmaceuticals quartermaster. Keepers, I highly recommend that you use these opportunities to introduce all of these other characters because these contacts are going to become very important later on in the campaign. One thing keepers should do is casually mention how much Shapiro sweats. Mention him dabbing the sweat off his forehead and that sort of thing, because this could be very important later on in the adventure. Once that's all done, the PCs are given the briefing for their next mission, and a strange outbreak has broken out in North Borneo, and Caduceus suspects that it might be a viral weapon by the Inner Night that's referred to as the Yellow Death. The PCs are to go there, determine if the plague really is the Yellow Death, determine why the Inner Night has released it, and then stop the Inner Night from achieving whatever goal they have. Shapiro will be accompanying the PCs on this mission, and he's going to be operating the viral analyzer, and they are going to be leaving immediately. Now, the PCs don't know this yet, but what's really going on is that a survey team in North Borneo accidentally activated the remains of an ancient serpent person outpost that was buried in the mountain, and that housed an interdimensional gate. The gate was last set on being to the Dreamlands, and it started spewing out all sorts of Dreamlands influences in the surrounding area, including the unleashing of a dole. An Internight agent named Sarizan arrived to the scene first, and he correctly deduced that what was powering this gate was deaths, hoping that maybe this gate would be able to get him and the rest of the Internight to the lost continent of Mu. He decided that he should poison the water there with the Yellow Death to increase the amount of deaths that are happening in the area, and therefore empower the gate so they can use it. The adventure itself begins as the PCs are on a plane shortly before they land in North Borneo. The module doesn't say what type of plane it is they're on, so I chose a Boeing 247. As they near the quarantine zone, the plane is attacked by night gaunts. They immediately kill the pilot and the co-pilot, and the PCs have to rush to the front and take the controls. Now, thankfully, Jane is a good pilot, and she was able to pull the plane out of its dive. The night gaunts also ripped through the hull of the airplane and attacked the people inside and smashed some boxes up. But before the PCs were able to fight it off, one of them grabbed JJ and yanked him out of the airplane, where it then dropped him. As JJ plummeted to the earth, he defiantly pulled out his twin 45s to shoot the night gaunt that had just killed him.
Eat lead, you son of a... Holy crap! A weapon jam now!
But before JJ could hit the ground to a big splattery death, Jane swooped into action, and making an extreme piloting check, Jane caught JJ with the airplane before he could go splat.
Hey, great job catching me with the airplane, Jane, but then again, that is your job. Unlike my pistol, that didn't do its only job. I swear, that's going to be the only thing I put in my diary tonight. Dear Diary, today my gun jammed.
I also had the night gaunts damage the landing gear on the airplane, and JJ was able to notice that as he was falling below the airplane, so the PCs are going to have to make a crash landing in order to get this plane down. Now, keepers, if your own group lacks a pilot character, then you don't need to take this step, but I have a pilot character, so I needed to, because the important thing is that once the plane lands, the PCs are not going to be able to use it again. Once they land on the airstrip, they will be met with the local personalities. Have fun with this. Roleplay it all out. Have Captain Lancaster come walking up to the plane and demand to shake hands with that brave man that was piloting it.
You're damn right that was some good flying. Put her there. Yeah, we're in a quarantine zone. I don't think I should do that. I just had my nails done. I'm sorry.
That's right. The Yellow Death is extremely contagious, and keepers are going to need to keep track of any of the PCs that are touching people, eating or drinking any of the contaminated water. Patch, being a doctor, was extremely careful of this contamination and wore a face mask and gloves at all times, no matter what, once he left the airplane for the entirety of the adventure. It is at this time that Shapiro noticed that one of the crates was damaged during the night gaunt attack. He pulls the player characters aside and he tells them that there was something inside that crate called the half-terrain device, and it was activated during this crash, and now it can't be shut off. The short description of the half-terrain device is it's essentially a Mythos-powered atomic bomb, and the PCs have 24 hours to complete this mission and get all of the uninfected out of the area before this bomb explodes.
24 hours. Okay, that is no problem. Guys, we got plenty of time to pull this one off.
The PCs will head deeper into the quarantine zone, where they come to the farm and the survey camp. My players became very interested in a smashed jungle trail that they saw along the way. Once at the farm, the PCs are going to encounter a great place for roleplay as the locals and the survey team are clashing, and the plantation owner, Kazine, really wants this quarantine lifted so that these interlopers will get the hell off of his property. Shapiro, once he arrives, is going to go straight to work. Have him show the PCs how the viral analyzer works and the basics about it. This is very important for him to give to them immediately after he arrives. Then he's going to tell the investigators to get the investigation started, since this is going to take him several hours and the clock is ticking. Now have the player characters meet all the various people around the camp. The orphan boy Muda is very helpful, and I had him show the PCs some of the clues that were in the area, and Muda has some good hints, and I really recommend that you mention him. I brought him into the game basically once they arrived and before Shapiro had started up. Remember to keep track of every time the PCs encounter somebody that has the Yellow Death and make any sort of contact with them, especially if bodily fluids are involved, like when they're drawing blood, or when one of the soldiers vomits all of their internal organs up on a player character. Now, my players correctly deduced that the survey team was somehow responsible for these unusual happenings, and they asked the survey team for a map of the last 3 places that they had conducted their survey. The adventure doesn't actually provide any sort of map like this, so I had to improvise one, but the most recent location that the survey team had been setting up was where the Serpent Person compound is. Now, depending on which clues the PCs pick up on, there's several paths that the characters can take when they eventually enter the Dreamland Forest. Keepers, be sure to express the alienness and the weirdness of the Dream Forest. There are strange plants that no one can identify that's going to require some botany and some natural world rolls. There's bright and colorful and strange birds that are fluttering around and calling down from the trees. Make the weirdness escalate and the strangeness get more and more the deeper that they go into the Dream Forest. They're going to encounter several Dreamlands creatures here, including a sad Bupoth, whose mate was killed by the soldiers, and now it's just kind of wandering the jungle, making all sorts of sad noises and being just, well, kind of like Eeyore. If the PCs ate the steaks with the military camp, it's going to smell its dead mate on them, and the Bupoth is going to attack.
Thankfully for us, we were a little distracted and busy after Shapiro said bomb to stop and eat Captain Lancaster's steak dinner, but that whole scene did leave us feeling a bit sad.
They will also encounter a Gug, and this thing is bad news. Between its hit points, armor, speed, and the damage that it inflicts, it is a serious threat to the party and could quite possibly kill your party. Thankfully, it makes a ton of noise as it's approaching, so this gives the heroes a chance to hide. Now, once JJ, from his hiding position, saw the giant monster, he suffered a bout of madness and all hell broke loose. Jane and Patched managed to kill the monster, Patched making it with 2 impaling strikes from his rifle.
Yup, and it only cost Patch 4 points of luck to pull that trick off.
This is also a good time to mention that rifles are going to be pretty much essential for many of the creatures that they're going to encounter in this adventure. Keepers, if your player characters don't normally carry rifles, have Shapiro bring some on the plane with them into the camp, and have him advise the PCs that they should carry them just in case. Hopefully they'll get the hint. And don't forget that the creatures with a build size of 4 or larger give a bonus dice to player characters that are trying to hit them. They are going to need that. Now, after bypassing a huge and scary web that was stretched across many of the trees and a good portion of the jungle, the PCs eventually made it to the cliffs where the survey team accidentally uncovered the Serpent Person outpost. There are several options here. On one side there is a series of holes that leads down into some ghoul warnings. I love the scene with the ghouls because it allows the PCs to understand what's going on, providing a course that they decide to actually talk and roleplay with the ghouls rather than just shooting them outright because they're scary and weird. Unfortunately, my player characters never went down into the warrens, but they did follow the other side where there's an enormous tunnel that leads down into the earth. After following it deeper and deeper, they discovered a dole. Patch looked at this colossal horror and made his mythos check and realized that this could be a planet-devouring threat. JJ looked at this monster and went definitely insane. He developed a new mania, one that involves running away, so he indulged that new mania, dropped his flashlight, and ran screaming off into the darkness. This also awoke his new insane talent, giving the ability to see in the dark. Learning about the dole, the PCs decide to head back to camp and tell Shapiro about it and find out what it was that they needed to do. However, this time when they were trying to bypass the giant spider web, they failed their stealth roll, which caused them to be attacked by a giant lean spider. His sanity stretched to the limit, JJ had a bout of madness, developing severe arachnophobia. Patch went insane as well, but instead of fear, he felt uncontrollable rage. This madness awoke in him the insane talent of giving him brutality, which he then used to beat the spider to death with his rifle butt. Once back at the camp, the PCs discovered that Shapiro was missing. But then they discovered his gooey bones that had been shoved kind of haphazardly into a crate, and they realized that the serpent person had stolen Shapiro's likeness. They also realized that the half-terrain device had been modified and was now set to detonate within the next 3 to 4 hours. Now, the module doesn't actually say how long it is until the modified device is going to detonate, so keepers, just give the players a rough guesstimate just to motivate them that they need to act now and they can't stop to do anything else. Worst case scenario, that since this device has been damaged, it doesn't actually have to detonate when you say it does. It's just going to explode at the scene that gives it for maximum dramatic effect.
Holy crap, guys, this puppy is about to explode, and we only got a couple hours to get these people to safety and kill that bastard that ate our boss.
Using the viral analyzer, the PCs began testing the population in the area. Those that passed the test were put in one area. Those that failed the test and were therefore infected were given a treatment and were asked to wait. Help would be on the way. The PCs then convinced the military camp to start moving those not infected down to the nearest village that was outside of the suspected blast radius.
Though we kinda sorta didn't make any mention of impending explosions. We guessed they would figure that part out when it happened.
Leaving the operation in the hands of some trusted people, the PCs took the half-terrain device back to the cliff, leaving it outside the Dole's tunnel, hidden under some cut branches. That way nobody would just happen along and find it. They then scaled the cliff and entered the ancient serpent person outpost. Inside, they snuck up on Sarizan, which was dressed as Shapiro's skin. They then planned to observe him and see what he was up to, maybe learn a little bit about the Internight's plan. But then Sarizan activated the gate, and the PCs witnessed another Dole heading for them from the Dreamlands. Pat shot Sarizan in the head, then raced to the controls, managing to close the gate by reversing the steps he'd watched the serpent person do on the controls. Before leaving, they noted that there was an ancient map of Earth on the wall and it had several locations marked, including one in Iceland and another that had an unknown landmass off the coast of South America.
There is a lot of weird stuff here, and I am beginning to think that maybe we should have interrogated that serpent person before we offed him. Nah, he had it coming.
The fact that they killed the serpent person before questioning him and then bypassed the ghouls meant that my players never really learned the real reason for all of these strange happenings. They then incorrectly assumed that the Internight was trying to intentionally summon Doles for some reason. After they jotted down whatever notes they could find about what they saw, and with the impending explosion on its way, the PCs got the hell out of there. And as they raced down the mountain, the half-terrain device exploded behind them in a dramatic moment that could only be done in slow motion. Once they had made it to the survivors that had been moved outside the blast radius, they were asked what happened. Now, any excuse is going to do here. Don't really worry about it. But keepers, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and put the players on the spot and have to explain what that explosion was all about without giving them any hint this is about to happen to them.
That was swamp gas that was ignited by a magma bubble. Yeah, that's it. It was a magma bubble. That's why it looked like this perfect sphere of glowing light for a full minute before it eventually popped. Yeah, that's it. It was a magma bubble. Believe me.
The PCs made it on a plane and flew back to New York. However, things weren't all as good as they seemed, because shortly before the explosion, they discovered that Jane had contacted the Yellow Death. And even with the viral analyzer's cure, all it's going to do is afford her one more week to live before she succumbs to the disease. They radioed all this information ahead, and once they arrived in New York, they were met with the Caduceus team, and Jane was loaded directly into an ambulance and sent off to Caduceus headquarters for treatment.
Yeah, the treatment that the doctors said they were going to give her is called hybridization. I don't know what that is, but she'll be better for it.
Overall, we had a blast with the North Borneo chapter. While the combat is extremely intense and PCs do risk death at a lot of different places, and hopefully your PCs are going to be tough enough to handle that, the sanity cost ended up being the biggest obstacle for my players. Players are going to need to use a lot of luck to reduce that sanity loss, but even then, it is going to take a toll. That's it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be covering Chapter 4, Oklahoma.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you want to see some more episodes in this series or some of our other reviews and other videos, just hit that subscribe button. Till next time, gamers, you have a great day. You know, I like this look on me. I feel, dainty. Dear Diary, today my gun jammed. Yeah, that should about cover it.